Hey, Indian Creek 8th grade students. It's Professor Blazek, and I'd like to welcome you back to another installment in our Road to a 4 video series looking at your social issues essay. In this video, we're going to be looking at writing your rough draft, and the moment has finally arrived for you to dive in and begin typing out the first draft of your essay. Now, as I just mentioned, this is your chance to sit down and type out the first draft of your essay. And rather than taking you through a long step-by-step process, you only have one goal in writing your rough draft, and that is simply to write. So I just wanted to give you some tips and tricks in this video that will help you when you're writing your rough draft. Now, first and foremost, make sure that you follow your outline because you took the time to get all of your ideas down and put them in an order that makes sense, that allows your ideas to flow, that explains everything you want to explain. So follow your outline when you're writing your rough draft, because if you don't, your ideas will get out of order, they'll seem disjointed, and you'll have wasted all of the time that you spent on writing your outline. So make sure that you follow your outline when you're writing your rough draft. And then make sure that you write confidently because you know your topic, you've taken the time to do research and become an expert, and you've decided that you're going to argue an idea. So make sure that you argue that idea. Make sure that that confidence comes through in your writing. Additionally, keep in mind that you are going to make mistakes when you're writing your rough draft, but that's okay. No rough draft is going to be perfect. We're going to have the chance to go back, make edits, make changes, so don't worry about having everything be perfect in your rough draft. And then, kind of related to the point we just talked about before, make sure that you get your points across and be bold when you're writing. If an idea comes to you that you hadn't thought of before and you think it's going to help your essay, go with it. Because if it works, then you've really strengthened your writing. And if it doesn't, again, we have the time to go back and review and edit. So it's not going to hurt you in the long run to try some new things. Additionally, make sure to use the quotes and paraphrases from your research sources. You took the time to do all that research to learn about your topic. You found the things as far as quotes and paraphrases that you believe are going to help you make your argument. So make sure that you're going to use them in your essay. Now, whenever you do use a quote or a paraphrase, make sure that you follow it with a citation where you put either the author's last name or, if there was no author for a source, the article title in parentheses. And we do this to give credit to your source for whatever information that you were using from them. If you don't use a citation after a quote or paraphrase, this is technically plagiarism, which we've talked about as something that you want to avoid at all costs. So, for example, if you're going to use a direct quote, remember you would put it in quotation marks, and then you would follow that with the author's last name in parentheses, and then give the period for the end of that sentence, if that was the end of the sentence. Now, on the other hand, if you were going to use a paraphrase, remember that since it's not word for word from a source, you don't have to put quotation marks around it, but you would put the article title of that source in quotation marks inside of the parentheses, again, if there was no author's last name. So just a little bit of extra information on how to use citations. This is something that you really want to get used to because it's a format that you're going to use throughout the rest of your academic careers to give credit to sources when you're using them. Now, when you're writing your rough draft, try to avoid using the following terms. First of all, don't ever say my essay or this essay. Your reader knows that they're reading an essay, and it's really just a mark of sloppy writing to talk about your essay within itself. Also, try to avoid using I or you, and the reason for this is that using I makes your writing seem subjective. It makes it seem like you're just giving your opinion, Whereas if you were, for example, to start a sentence with, I believe that, if you just get rid of the I believe and just state your belief as though it's fact, that makes it much stronger. On the flip side, you also don't want to use the word you as though you're speaking directly to your reader, because again, it's just a mark of sloppy writing. So try to avoid using both of these terms as well. And then when you are using transitional words or phrases, try to be more complex than the same old first, next, and last at the beginning of your body paragraphs, because I know these are what most students are taught when they're first being instructed on how to write. But if you want to make your writing seem much more complex, use more complex transitional words and phrases. And then finally, try to avoid overusing words like very or really when you're trying to make a point, because overusing these is going to make your reader feel like they're just being continuously hit in the face with these words that really don't add a whole lot when you use them. So instead of saying something like very bad or really important, find words that mean the same thing but are much more complex than just throwing that very or really on to make it seem more extreme. Okay, again, this is just another example of strong writing, and this is another way that you can be audacious when you are writing your rough draft. Now, remember that we call this a rough draft because it's meant to be rough. It's not meant to be perfect, so don't worry too much about specific words, because you're going to have the chance to go back and find the exact words that you want in our next step. And then just make sure to use your knowledge and your sources as much as possible and get your ideas out there. That is our goal in writing your rough draft, is to get your ideas down in order, get your explanation out there, and then we can worry about fine-tuning it later. Now, once you have done this, you have completed step 7 in our writing process, and you're done with your rough draft. This is an awesome accomplishment, and you are now ready to move on to step 8, which is where we are going to edit and revise your rough draft and get it into your final draft. I will be back soon with a video on exactly how we are going to do that. Until then, this has been Professor Blazek signing off.